Hi, good evening, and thank you for joining us on day 319 at GGY. First roundtable discussion post presidential and general election. We had one after the presidential.
Yeah, we
so
did.
this is the first time that we're meeting after the general election. There's a new parliament that has been seated with a NPP majority, 159 seat majority. They got 6.8 million votes. Just 100,000 shy of Gotabaya's 6.9. So they won't be referred to as the new 6.9.
They're 6.8.
now they're the 6.8. But we thought. So let me introduce the group. We have Priyangani here today. We have Maubrey. We have Chris, and I'm Chaminda. So we thought we'll just look at the early days of the NPP government, because I think enough has been said, enough action has been taken. We know who's sitting in the cabinet. We know who the deputy ministers are. No state ministers. So I think in terms of one of their early election promises, that's definitely a positive, right? That we don't have like a massive cabinet. I think the biggest cabinet was under Maithripala. I think 89 people or something like that. Virtually everybody was, cabinet was a way of or becoming a minister was a way of rewarding loyalty and things like that. So it started on a fairly positive note. Do you want to quickly give your impressions of the NPP government so far? So we have asked our group what are the negatives, what are the positives. So we have some things that are on a bunch of slides. We'll talk about them, and then we'll cover 2 or 3 topics, key election promises made by the NPP. And I think one of the reasons we want to do this is because we want to remind the NPP that they have made certain promises, that we will hold them to account for it. I know a lot of people want to give them some time. Give them time. There's no budget yet, and various things. And I think they definitely deserve the time, right? But now they're governing. They're no longer campaigning. So I think it's important to remind them that there's a difference between campaigning. Now they're the governing party, and that everything that they do, everything that they say reflects on the government of Sri Lanka, not just on the NPP. Pri, what are your first impressions?
So this is a system change that we hope would be implemented by a new party that hasn't been brought into power at all for the past so many years. So there's a lot of expectation, and lots of promises were made according to the manifestos, and we here at GGY want to make sure that things move as planned, as we expected.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that's changed, once they've come into governance, to address it and to say, yes, things aren't quite what we expected, but we will work around it, work for it, and do it to the best of our ability according to what we said we would bring forth.
Yeah. Well, we actually have a bunch of stated goals at GGY, right? Yeah. So we have to make sure that they align with the promises made by the NPP, and virtually everything aligned. I think in terms of system change goals, I think this is the closest we'll ever come to government that will deliver on the things that people wanted. I mean, I firmly believe that this government is not possible without an Aragalaya. This presidency is not possible without an Aragalaya.
Definitely.
Is what paved the way. So
exactly.
I think Eranga spoke in Parliament yesterday. Did you hear Eranga's speech? Oh, no.
Yeah, what did he say?
You heard Eranga's speech?
Yes.
Yeah, so he remembered the brothers and sisters of the Aragalaya. He gave credit to the people for standing up and all of that. He's really the only one I heard. I mean, he was a leader.
He was active.
Of course he was active. Yeah.
He was there and all of that. So that was nice to see that there was an acknowledgement from somebody in the NPP that this is what set the stage. Auntie, what do you think so far?
I personally
you're
think
walking on cloud 9.
you can't say. I mean,
I wrote to them.
Yeah.
Look, I wrote to them. I had to write to them, and I told, look, this everything that is going on. I feel this government is on my shoulder, and if you go out of the track or do some mistake, I feel very personal about it.
Yeah.
They did reply to me, yes, we feel the same, and it is our responsibility. We put this government into power, it's up to us to bat. Right. I did send that message because I personally feel they are going ahead very slowly.
Yeah, cautiously.
It's very cautious.
Which I think they should. Yeah,
and because I was getting personally very agitated. I was getting agitated when this thing was given about Jaffna celebrating this LTT thing. It was given to the media, the fellows, and the government was not taking any action. What are they doing? Because this is false information, misinformation given. They are not doing anything about it. I was getting agitated because I was the first to get agitated. Again, the messages are going. But they took some time. It was 2-3 days ago. I think they arrested these people. 4 people were arrested. So, which I feel is they are taking time doing it without just taking this one and the other, given the job to the police, and it's the police doing it. And about PTA, I understood yesterday they came. One person was arrested under the PTA, that guy from Baddagama. Others were normal. They were released. I think that one particular person is still there.
No, there are 7 arrests under the PTA.
No, that was
all together.
On the LTT thing, 4. You mentioned 4 people, and out of them, 3 are on bail. What I'm saying
let's not get into that particular discussion yet, because we're coming to that, right?
Okay,
we're
I'm just saying. Yeah. So what I feel is cautious. Very cautiously, they are going ahead without trying to do this, do that. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. Maybe whatever they say. That's what I feel. And I also read somewhere. This is for the country. If Anurag Kumar is somebody who has supposed to have or may have emotional intelligence, person with emotional intelligence, then I think we are lucky. Yeah. It will be very good for the country because we have at least some person with some ability to do something for the country. That I'm happy about it.
He's the president now.
He's the president,
right? So,
but he will.
He can demonstrate with his actions whether he has emotional intelligence or not. And I think over the next 5 years, 5-year term, right?
5 years.
Term. So now they're in government for the next 5 years. Yeah. So we no longer need to campaign for them, right?
Yeah, we are not campaigning.
We don't need to build them up, right? You know what I mean? Like he's already in the top seat.
So they had to bet.
Now they have to bet. Exactly. I think it's important.
And I personally I got down their policy in PDF. I said, I'm going to keep this, I'm going to have a check on you, and because slightest thing I am.
Good. Well, I think we need people who support them to hold them accountable.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that activists don't have to get involved.
Exactly.
Right? Now, the issue with Ranil Wickremesinghe was the supporters were not, batting for his policies. They were batting for him.
Yes.
Right? So nothing he did was wrong, and you couldn't criticize him without getting a huge amount of you know what we're talking about. So
that is.
So NPP shouldn't be the flip side of that. People who voted them in should hold them accountable.
Definitely, and that will keep us also going. I was getting pretty bored after the election.
Good.
Nothing to do. Now I have something to do.
Good.
Chris,
how are you feeling so far?
Simply said, I think 65 to 70% happy.
Yeah.
That's where I am.
Yeah.
Less than what I thought I'd be. From the options available at the presidential election as well as the general election, I feel NPP and AKD was the best available option.
Yeah.
There's no. Personally, I'm talking personally. There's no. I don't disagree on that. However, I think going by what they promised prior to the presidential election, so many discussions that we've had, we've listened to them speaking here, their members speaking here, and what they're saying now on certain matters are a total 180 degree. And that, while they are doing, like that's why I said 65%, 70% is how happy I am with them.
Yeah.
While they are doing good things, they are also doing this. So I do not want to be party to say, okay, of the options available, they were the best option, so let's just look the other way when these things happen. No. I think, especially when they've got a 2/3 majority, when there is no proper opposition, I think it's very important that people like us highlight these things, these things that they've promised to do. One, for example, like the PTA. Andrew Kumara's, I saw this through Marisa's tweet when she tweeted it.
Yeah.
His manifesto said that they will get rid of all.
We're going to come to the PTA. We'll have
especially they had mentioned the PTA.
Yeah.
But after Andrew Kumar was made president on the Arugambe incident, the people were arrested. 6 people were arrested on the PTA.
Yeah,
so this is not a good message that is going out, right? That is my view. So similarly, there are other things also where they promised one thing and they're saying something else now. I think it's important, like you said, that their supporters especially talk about these things rather than saying just give them time, we'll look the other way.
Well,
majority of what they're doing is good.
Right. So I had to make a point. Right now they've been in power for a very short time.
Yes.
The police, the changes at the police we see happening now.
Yes.
Right. There have been some transfers, some new appointments, and things like that. You saw what the police did to that protest of the protesters outside Surupai.
Yeah.
The police, the reflex action of the police is to attack protests now. Right? Now, that has been a continuation of the policy from the previous administration and the one before even. Right? I mean, so to change that will take time.
Yes.
I mean, I think there has to be a change at the police itself. So, arresting people under the PTA is what the police did. We don't want a government getting involved in decision making at a law enforcement level. We want them to set the stage in terms of legislation, like changes to policy, but they shouldn't get involved in matters at a street level, like who's arrested under which provision and all of that.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just.
One thing.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
There were so many discussions about where it was discussed saying the PTA was not necessary.
No, I know. No. What I'm saying is
laws are sufficient.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
but till they...
Exactly. What I'm saying is
they said existing laws are sufficient.
No, right now the policies that are being followed by the police could be what's been held over. Right? Because in these institutions, Chris, there's a lot of resistance to change. Right now, we know.
I don't agree. Who signs the detention order? It's not the police. It is either Minister of Defence or the President who signs the detention order, to my knowledge.
Yeah. So what he has to sign what is put in front of him, no? Right? By whatever laws. The excuse they said. What they said was like we operate within the laws that are in the books right now. That's what they said.
Yes.
Right? No, I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Right? We need to give them time on certain things because if you look at who now there was a commotion at that particular protest. Police was attacked and a person was arrested. Subsequently, it was revealed that he was military intelligence.
Right.
Now, institutions like the military will be very resistant to change. Right?
Yes,
definitely. Because they benefit from a certain amount of agitation in societies, a certain amount of disturbance. You know what I mean? Because it keeps the military funded and strong. So, I mean, we need answers, right? Why was a military intelligence person in that crowd? So, hopefully, with the policies trickling down from the new government, some of these will change over time, right? So, I mean, it might be early for that discussion. But the decision to arrest, like you said, under the PTA was made by somebody, right? Now they could have immediately on day one said no arrest under the PTA. That could have been a message that was passed down. That could have been policy. So it doesn't matter what they did. It doesn't matter what we'll come to that. The PTA should not be used because it's a bad law. It's a law that has been used as a weapon.
Right? And a draconian law.
Yeah.
And they are now...
And disproportionately affecting minorities and disproportionately affecting people who are dissenters towards the government, right? Who go against the government position.
You were saying that Arukambe people,
Yes.
are they still under custody or?
I don't know.
We don't know now.
I know
I know
this,
that 6 people were arrested
because
using the PTA.
under PTA you can't give bail them out.
This is the
so
problem.
This is what I'm saying.
There's no-
Out of these 4, I
Yeah.
know about these 4 only.
Yeah.
I know that they were arrested,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the status. Only one person is there. that
No,
died
they
from-
should. Our point is, and this is what we fought for.
They should not be using it.
should be.
That is what
yeah,
you're
it
saying.
doesn't matter who the government is. It's a bad law which has been used as a weapon. You can't say we are good people, so we are going to use it well, right? Because next it might be another bad person
I
coming
have
in.
personally
right?
gone to with people like Deranga. I think went to all the embassies. Walked in the
Exactly,
hot sun,
exactly.
taking
So-
this with them, with
Right.
their team,
Yeah.
went to each embassy
Exactly.
and gave letters
Yeah.
to
No,
get rid of
so
this,
the point we're making
PTA.
is we are
Yes.
fighting on a principle.
Yeah.
And the principle is that it's a bad law that shouldn't be in our books. And they promise to repeal it. They should keep that promise. It's a very simple. It doesn't matter who's arrested under what statute, what crime they committed or alleged to have been committed. If it's a bad law, it shouldn't be in our books, no matter who is wielding that law.
I will
I
repeat
think that
whether
is
it's an
what
NPP or
Dr.
whatever.
Nagenda
I will
said.
repeat what I said before.
Yeah.
It has been said over and over again. There is no necessity for a PTA because our existing the other laws that we have are sufficient.
or they need to be strengthened.
Yeah, that has been said.
So now, like you said, 159 people, 2/3 majority. There
They
is
can do the
nothing
change.
that they set out in their manifesto that they can't achieve with their own majority in parliament, right? So we'll get to that. But let's
move on.
Let's
Yeah.
quickly move on to the 7 pledges the president made in his policy statement. Right? So the policy statement is the first major speech he made in Parliament when Parliament convened. And this is what sets out their legislative priority. Right? So for this particular term in Parliament, he sets the tone as the President. Right? And these are the things. And summarized by Pulse, he talked about putting an end to racial politics. Right? And religious divisions and serve all citizens equally. Number 2, he said a transparent parliament will be maintained by giving the public access to parliamentary decisions. And number 3, he said improve public services for both citizens and government employees. Then he said restore trust in the judiciary and ensure accountability. Then he said justice for victims, high profile crime cases. Then he said IMF staff level agreement. The 3rd review to be signed by the 23rd of November. I think that's already done now. And then finally he said break market monopolies by promoting fair trade and ensuring inclusive governance. Right? So these are his legislative priorities, and none of us will disagree with any of them. Right? How do you feel about this? Is this good? Or is it far enough? Or should they focus on a little bit more?
I think it's fantastic. That's my one-word answer.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good.
It's good.
Okay.
Pri, you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also think these are great priorities, and I think this government has already taken steps to move ahead with some of these things. We can see that the courts are getting unclogged. Certain cases are coming back into the spotlight.
They are passing 3 laws to bring about these past cases about robbing, money laundering, things like that. Three laws are coming up.
Yeah. So
the Chief Justice who was appointed also, I think, was someone who was in line,
right? Exactly. Who was overlooked.
Yeah.
She would have been in line, but she was overlooked and political appointments. I mean, this is how they messed around with the judiciary, right? Rajapaksa did it, Ranil Wickremesinghe did it.
Basic things like then they are recalling political appointees in this foreign service. Those are good things.
Those are good things, right? And those are things that need to happen.
Yeah.
The police transfers. So then we asked our group what are the positives, and these are some of the things that the group came up with. Cases of corruption, fraud, non-payment of taxes, etc., seem to be finally moving in court. We hope that the protection of the privilege by the powers that be has ended permanently, and that we will finally have equal justice. Right? I think that's something that we have been fighting from day one. And seeing the courts getting unclogged, seeing some of the cases moving forward, seeing people pay their taxes, right? Arrears being paid and things like that. I mean, let's face it. This particular thing, where 5 billion owed by W.M. Mendes, right? This is the Aloysius.
Yes.
Aloysius. Now, their license is being suspended. I don't see this happening under any other government. Even under the SGB, I mean, let's be fair.
Exactly. That is right.
Of course, we will never know.
We will never know. We will never know.
Right? I mean, just anecdotally knowing how things work in this country, I think this is only possible here. And suddenly, like people in a rush to pay their arrears and things like that. And we also hear, again anecdotally, that people in the institutions are editing their own behavior. They're worried about asking for bribes, things like that. Like we are hearing, So I mean, there's a lot to fix. But if people are editing their behavior, that's because they're worried about accountability. That's what we always said, right? We need a country, crimes, no criminals. That's because there has not been accountability. Finally, looks like accountability
something is happening
on that particular front. Yeah, Chris?
Yeah.
That's a positive, right? The government is actively looking to reduce perks of MPs, including the use of government bungalows, housing, etc., unless they live a certain distance out of the capital. So, I have thoughts on this. I have thoughts on this, right? I think, like you said, some report has only been submitted 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
Let's wait and see. But the stated position was that they were going to get rid of all the perks and things like that, right? But my view is that if you're a government servant, like an MP is ultimately a government servant, you should be paid a fair wage, right? You should have a living wage. You should be able to live. So I feel because we want to attract the best minds into that place, right? Professionals.
Their salary plus each time they attend 5,000 per sitting when they attend Parliament. And if they attend Parliament, they're supposed to one day out of the two.
It's like this, Annie. I mean, depending on where you come from in society, maybe your need is different, right?
Yeah. What I'm saying is that's because they have to come to Parliament. If they're not coming, it's their problem.
Yeah. So yeah.
I think he's trying to get to the point, Annie, whether to attract the best into now, for example,
for example, if you go into Parliament today, can you afford to live without a salary? You can't. Neither can I.
I agree with what you are saying, that they should be paid a fair wage and so they will not be corrupt and things like that. But the thing is, this is not the time to go and increase the salary.
It's not that.
I'm saying it's not that. Maybe they can look at later.
It's not that. It's not that. Anyway, it's a token thing. Like when you look at overall expenditure in terms of what the government spends, what you pay the MPs is not. It's like a drop in.
You can't do anything with that.
Yeah, but we need
the message. The message that goes out.
Also, it's part of electoral reform, right? How we bring about the changes to the electoral system, electoral reform, all of that. Like even bringing a new constitution or whatever. To do anything, you need good people in Parliament, right?
Yeah.
This is probably like the best Parliament we've had ever.
Yeah, but
in terms of professionals and all of that. But are they all independently wealthy to live without a salary? I think they should be given
an example.
Yeah, of course,
I'll give you an example. I was reading an article recently about this Wasim Tajuddin killing and something about the voice recordings coming out. And some NPP minister had said, I mean, the voice recordings and not telephone recordings not being given by dialogue at the time. Some Ananda, some police guy, right? Yeah. But then they brought up the point that now Hans Vijay Surya is part of ICTA, its chairman or whatever. So they said they can they have got whatever information they need.
Yeah.
Right? Now someone like Hans, who was CEO of Dialogue, is currently in that same article. That's why I remembered, said that he's working voluntarily.
Yeah.
Now someone like that, right? Awesome that he's working voluntarily.
Yeah. Even Hanif is working voluntarily.
Yeah.
So there are people
that is
people
awesome.
like that.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic that they are. But people like that, they should not have to think, oh, I can earn this much, in my profession. Why do I want to leave that and come and work in the government for nothing? No, I mean, not everybody will think like Hans and Hanif, I think.
There are certain people, they have made their money.
For example, I'll tell you why. Because they're independently wealthy.
Independently wealthy, yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But
I will name many people.
if you or I want to get into Parliament, we are not independently wealthy. Right? We need a salary. Right?
I am poor.
We need a salary. I need a salary.
I'm honest.
I absolutely need a salary.
I'm poor considering the interest rate.
So I think this is all I think the NPP has to realize they are already in power. There's no need to grandstand anymore. There's no need to campaign anymore. They need to now step into the shoes of governing and how to take this country forward in the best way possible, in good faith, in the public interest, right? And putting the salary they're getting into a party fund and then paying them back again, to me, is...
I don't know. I don't know whether they are paying it back again.
This is not an assumption. I think this has been stated many times. If you want, I can share the articles,
earlier
clips,
there were only three
all
people,
of that with you. No, not
there
three.
were three people.
Previous parliament.
That's
Three of them
previous
would have
parliament is gone. Now we have a new parliament.
So new parliament, have they said they are going to give all the money?
Yes, it's been publicly stated that the money is going to... See, that's the other thing. So who do you listen to in the party now? Tilvin Silva said something about local governments, which has been refuted by other people in the party itself. So I think they need to internally sort out some of these things, but also they need to step out of campaigning, right? They need to step out of grandstanding and now step into governing, right? Not ruling, governing, right? We don't need rulers, right? They're not kings, no? So we need people who are governing. So I think part of that should be looking at the perks that MPs get, because these are our people's representatives, right? I mean, as much as I value some of them wanting to travel by bus and all of that, they should have certain privileges and perks because they're serving the people. I mean, they should have a living wage at least, because I don't think everybody can live on, I don't know, like a handout by their party. So, but cutting perks, yes, absolutely. I think that needs to happen across government.
Whether this was correct in one of the nationalist employees, nationalist members, lady had said she's not taking it up because she can't afford to live with this 54,000. Yeah, so is it correct? I don't know. I saw it somewhere.
Don't know. I mean, it's up to the individual. But I'm making a broad general point that
they need to have
if they have been elected to represent the people, give them a living wage.
Livable wage.
Right? Yeah. So, but perks, yes, cutting them across the board, yeah. I think a lot of the ministers who are taking over ministries and institutions are realizing how much waste there is. I think Handunetti today said, the gem and jewelry thing is also under him. He said, rent alone they're paying like 65 million a month or something like that. Like they're renting buildings. So there must be a lot of waste built into these things, and I'm glad that they're looking at it, right? I'm glad that they're looking at all of this, and I think in good faith, So even the parliamentary salary thing, we should look at it in the same way, Just because you're elected by the NPP doesn't mean you don't need money to live, right? You need money to live. Yeah. Then releasing land. Any thoughts on that? We have a slide on it later. On this perks thing?
I think, yeah.
All right. So then we had...
just to make it transparent, just if you have a salary, then it's very simple. Yeah. Now they have interest-free loans, access to duty-free vehicles and so many, this amount of...
This thing was stopped during Gota's time. He stopped giving permits.
Yeah. So, but on the positives... We saw that the military, some of the land that was being occupied by the military was released in Jaffna. Yeah. I think that's definitely a positive, right? I think this goes towards the national question, right? The north and the east is heavily militarized.
As if on cue we saw Nama Rajapaksa using that.
Of course, we're going to get bad actors continuing to stir up these questions, but demilitarization of the north and the east has to be something that we seriously look at, because one thing that nobody talks about is military spending. I mean, because if you're serious about cutting costs, cutting perks here and there is not going to solve the problem. You have to look at our biggest cost item in our budget, which is the military, right? So I think demilitarizing the north and the east will go some way towards doing that, right? Yeah.
And I asked this question and I was told you can't just sack the army people, no, but by 2027, there's a huge set that is going to be, the period is going to be...
Natural attrition in the military, so that we don't hire more people, let the people who are serving serve out, and then...
I did post that question.
Chamila, some time ago we analysed both manifestos, right? I mean, you analysed you analysed it. Which party said that they would increase education to 6% and reduce from defence? There was one party that either
N-
SJB or
NPP
No, I don't
NPP
think
said
they
NPP
said
said.
reduce from defense. Everybody says 6%. You know, 6%. How that
No,
6%
that
came?
reduced from defense.
No one said it.
No, that we said.
Yeah,
we
we
were
said.
saying
Okay.
let's reduce. You know,
No, but no
if you
party-
reduce the-
no party said it.
No
No
party
party
said that.
explicitly said that, but
Okay.
This
NPP
6%.
independently said they will increase
To 6%.
education and spending on health.
Someone had mentioned 6%. Was it SJB
No,
or NPP?
actually 6%.
Yeah,
SJB
6%.
also mentioned.
Yeah, all-
This
both
6% has
parties
come
said.
as a result of an international standard in 1994. There was some international convention or
Yeah.
whatever it is. At that program, they have said that for this particular countries, they must spend 6% of their
yeah,
GDP. That is how the 6%
Yeah, so
came.
6% is something we've been saying for a long time.
Yes, it
which
is
is like
coming
doubling current spending. Current
So
it's at about
it'll
3%.
take a little while to do
Right.
it. They can't do it
Well,
overnight.
let them present a budget, right? And then we'll analyze that. So, also opening roads. Some roads have been opened, right? Behind temple
In
trees,
Jaffna,
that road.
yes.
No, in Jaffna, even in Colombo. Some
I
roads have
must
been
walk
opened.
along that road
Yeah.
and see.
I haven't, I still
I saw
haven't,
it, I saw it.
you saw it. I still haven't even driven down that way. Then the police transfers, that's been happening. A lot of, what do you call them?
Problematic people have been moved
Problematic
out.
people who were tools to political maneuvering.
Especially the police officer who was given to the media. What do you call that person? Police.
The media spokesman.
Media
Media
sports.
spokesman. They changed.
Taldu. Nihal Taldu.
Aniyal Taldu. So many people are scolding him. You're famous YouTubers. But then I saw it happening.
Apart
He
from
had
he
been,
was,
I'm telling you about him because certain instances he has said, no, I know nothing about it. That type of answers he has
there are
given.
far more problematic people in the police.
Yes.
People who are complicit in disappearances, murders, things like that, who are sitting in prominent positions, who were controlled by politicians. I think a lot of, especially in the Colombo division, they have all been moved out. And another positive is that 4 women have been appointed to very
senior positions.
Senior positions,
Very good.
including the head of the CID.
Excellent.
Which is really
which
good.
which is amazing, right? So which I think is great. Then appointments to various institutions and the judiciary. I mean, we see some good appointments being made, right? Like professionals coming in and so on. One or two questionable ones also, but
There are some.
There are one or two, but in general, I think the caliber of the people coming into institutions, into the judiciary seems good. I think the new Chief Justice was somebody who had been overlooked by previous administrations in favor of people who were more malleable, right?
Yes.
So I think that I think is fixing an injustice, right? Giving her that Chief Justice position. So I think overall, these are the positives that we see. But having said that, the composition of the cabinet drew some criticism, and I think rightly, because of the lack of female and minority representation. Now, the answer to that was that
Okay, first of all,
the response,
there are 40 odd cabinet, 40 to 43,
25
20,
cabinet
no,
ministers.
and the deputy ministers.
Yeah,
Of
deputy,
that,
yeah.
how many Muslims are there? How many Tamils are there? Would you know? I know there are no Muslims.
No, it's very few.
Okay.
Let's put it that
Then
way. Yeah.
females, I know there are 2.
Two.
In the entire 42 or 43, there are only 2.
Yeah.
Dr. Harini, another lady.
Yeah, I think people know the general sort of composition, right? So I think the issue is the response is when this was questioned. The response is that they don't see ethnicity when making appointments. So by implication, that means there are no qualified women or minorities to be in those positions, right? So you can see the hurt. You can see why that could be hurtful to if you're a minority, right? Now, I will invoke Tassie, for example. In fact, I invited her here. I asked her to come and speak with us today. She was saying, look, I mean, are you telling me that in the most diverse parliament, in the most diverse group that which the NPP fielded, you can't find one minority, one Muslim representative. So, I mean, we shouldn't really be fighting for tokenism. The right person should be appointed to the right job, but you have to acknowledge the hurt that a certain communities will feel if they don't feel seen or represented, right? So, let's see. early days. I mean, let's see how these things are addressed, right? I mean, the broader national question needs to be answered as well. I mean, I think this president especially got an incredible endorsement from the minorities, right, through their vote.
Exactly, yeah.
Which means it's incumbent on him to represent them, right, and find a solution, a long awaited solution. Now we are 15 years after the war, right? They still can't commemorate freely, So
No, they did have 240 commemorations were held, and out of that only 10 where they have displayed this LTT thing, which is illegal, that have been taken to courts.
Right.
So whatever the procedure is.
So we'll
because
see how
that's
all of this play out.
How can they say
I mean,
not to commemorate somebody, your relation or a brother or sister who had died?
Yeah. So like I said, things like this we may not have seen if it wasn't for various things.
Yeah.
So our own group said some of the negatives. The use of the PTA, recent incidents of police violence against protesters, one incident, right? Repealing of laws, and also the Sri Lankan Airlines thing, selling Sri Lankan Airlines, right? That's also a walk back. Priya, you're dying to say something.
No. What about
Are you sure?
The IMF agreement and the DSA?
Yes.
That's a big...
Yeah, I'm going to come to that. But this is what our group said. Our group hadn't
brought that
up. Any other negatives in your eyes? Any negatives in your eyes?
I think it's covered here.
Yeah, no. I'm like personally.
Basically, for me, Sri Lankan is a big question mark.
Yeah.
Other than that,
we have had NPP representatives here telling us that government has no business running an airline and the airline should be sold.
Yeah.
So I was taken by surprise as soon as
that was a walk back.
Yeah, that was 180 degree. When AKD became president, they appointed somebody from Haley's, one of Dhammika Pereira's companies, as its Sri Lankan CEO.
Right.
So does that mean that they're not going to sell it now?
Well,
are they going to run it for some time?
Yeah.
So, I mean, some clarity on that would be good.
We need to sell it to somebody.
It's a massively loss-making enterprise. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But let's move on to some of the key promises made in their manifesto versus what's happening now. Because I think these are the things that we need to focus on as activists, right? Like, look, ultimately GGY, we maintain our stance as a non-partisan group. As a group, we are non-partisan. Each of us can have our own beliefs, and we fought for things. We asked for system change, and we fought for things. And we spoke to all the parties, right? They came and sat here, they discussed. So I think, and some of them are friends of GGY, right? Like Chaturanga and all that. So I think...
saw them improving also.
Yeah, so I think if friends can't tell them, what's what, I don't think anybody else will, right? I think we have earned that right to be critical, to say what we feel, because we have put our work in 319 days on the road doing this, advocating, talking to various people. I think we have earned the right, So I think one of the first things that we need to point out is that the IMF agreement, they themselves very clearly said the DSA needs to be renegotiated, right? Now, that was when they were campaigning. Now they are in government, and the realization is, so this is what they said before. Manifest reviews IMF renegotiation proposals, right? Preparing an alternative debt sustainability analysis, DSA, to be used in debt evaluations as needed, aimed at maintaining debt sustainability and maintaining interest rates at affordable levels. This is one of the things that they said, right? But of course now they're governing, right? And President has acknowledged the complexities of negotiating the debt sustainability analysis with the international IMF, right? We empathize.
He emphasized.
Emphasize the importance of adhering to the IMF program to maintain economic stability, stating we, Sri Lanka, had already gone to IMF. We cannot seek options outside the IMF basket. That would be too risky for the economy. So whatever the alterations and amendments that we seek to implement will be within the IMF basket. And I think that's a very fair statement, right? Is it a walk back? Yes. But it's fair because that shows political maturity. Right, that they are willing to admit, okay, you know what, the task is a lot more complex than we imagine.
I watched on that Advocate Gananath explaining about it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that you, if you
not,
try
no,
to...
not just that. Like Harsh has been saying this from day one. Let's give him some credit, right? Harsh got a lot of flack for this. He said those who believe NPP can change the DSA but open their eyes to the reality of international financial negotiation. Attempting to mess with the DSA upon which the IMF program and the debt structure is built will spell disaster, right? So now the NPP and AKD has come to that position. You can't change it.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or wrong, that's a different thing. Whether they did the right thing or the wrong thing,
But
we know the problems with it, right? How they touched the EPF and all, we know, right? And with the international bondholders, I mean, what we got was pittance compared to what some of the other countries have got. But that is what is already in place. They needed the third tranche to be done in time, so they had to sign it.
The summary, Chaminda, of that, what you just said, is that either they willfully lied about the DSA prior to the election, or they were clueless about it. It's one of the two. It has to be one of the two.
One of the two. No, but now pretending that they didn't say this is hurtful. It's harmful to them, right? So Chaturanga in Parliament said we never said we are going to change the DSA. I mean, Chaturanga is a friend, right? And he's been here many times, but he doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need to say, because there's evidence of him saying. I mean, I can play the clips here or the multiple times he's been on TV.
I would like to go through just...
Of course. Feel free. It's on YouTube. Right? I mean, what he said...
In our GGY,
in our GGY, what he said was, we don't ask a bank to write a business plan for us. If you're running a business, do you ask the bank to write a business plan, or do you write your own business plan?
You're quoting him, no?
I'm quoting him, right? So then in Parliament today, he said that... We never said that. I don't think it's necessary for him to do that. You understand? Now here, a politically mature statement by AKD gets undercut when members of their own party I mean, you have to have the backbone to say, yes, we were wrong. I mean, that is sign of maturity, right? To admit if you were wrong, just to say, look, we were wrong on this position. And then move on, because for the next 5 years, you are the government.
Actually, Chaminda,
you are the government.
Personally, for me, I would take this much offense on the PTA also if they said the same thing.
Exactly. It's your credibility, it's your personal integrity that you're putting on the line if you're making statements that contradict yourself, right? If I'm wrong, I should be man enough to say, listen, I was wrong on this, right?
For me, personally, if they say, when we said that all draconian laws in our manifesto, all draconian laws will be taken off, especially the Prevention of Terrorism Act.
We're coming to that. I know you're feeling passionate about this particular.
When we said that, and now we realize that it's some sort of law is needed, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
And that's all they have to do.
Yeah. Again, there's a big difference between governing and campaigning, right? So the second thing I want to talk about is the presidency, the executive presidency. So in those 7 priorities that I showed you earlier of the president, this is not mentioned. This is not mentioned, right? Now you guys said it's all good, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, but this is not mentioned. But this was a key demand of the Aragale, and this was something that was promised by the NPP. Even on this article I'm quoting is from the 23rd of September. National People's Power member Sunil Handunetti has reaffirmed that dismantling the executive presidency will be central goal under the new elected president, AKD's leadership. Speaking to the press today, 23rd, just a day after Disanayaka's victory over Sajid Premadasa, Handunetti declared that the people of this country has elected who he described as the last executive president of Sri Lanka, making the end of a political era. Right? So I think, the whole quote is there. Now, this is a key political promise. So for it to be not one of the major planks in the policy statement of AKD, for me, feels like a betrayal of my trust. Right now, as voters, we voted based on their word. Right? I mean, the only thing that's sacred is your word.
But it's in their manifesto that they're going to do that.
Yes, of course, it's in the manifesto. But Auntie, it's not like I will abolish it when I leave. It's I'll abolish it when I'm elected. Right? Because every president has said, when I leave, I'll shut the door and go and all that.
So
right?
When he was elected,
we even urged Ranil. We told Ranil, you could be the last executive president.
No, so when AKD was elected and we said, I think at that time we spoke, there were those who supporting the NPP, the thing, they said, no, how can they give it up? They don't have, they have parliament.
Yeah.
And, they don't have
now
power.
they have a parliament.
Now they have two-thirds.
And now they have two-thirds.
Now what's
so
preventing them?
let me just
Now what's preventing
remind
them?
people what the manifesto said. It said abolition of all oppressive. Sorry, we're now jumping ahead to the PTA, right? Sorry, I thought I'm reading the executive president's thing, but now, so the next thing I want to talk about is the. Sorry, have you had your say on the executive presidency? You're done? Okay, good. Right. So the next thing I want to talk about is the PTA. Now, 7 arrests have been made under the PTA already. On the page 129 of the NPP manifesto says this: abolition of all oppressive acts, including the Prevention of Terrorism Act by name is mentioned there, PTA, and ensuring civil rights of people in all parts of the country, right? Oppressive, when we talk about oppressive acts, I think we can talk about the OSB, Online Safety Bill, right? The PTA, ATA, or whatever.
Online safety bill is not yet passed, no? Did they
It's
pass
passed.
it?
It's law.
No,
It's
Is it a law?
So yeah, it's law.
There's another law.
Remember Sanjana Hatta came and spoke to us about it, the
there
dangers
is
of the...
another one that they were about to pass and it didn't happen before the election.
And the OSA is
remember.
passed.
It's passed.
And not OSB, OSA.
OSA, that's right.
OSA,
On a safety act.
OSA, yeah. And then they, so now arresting 7 people under this and also making statements like, we'll repeal it, but we'll replace it. I mean, that actually goes back on stuff that they themselves have said. The JVP have been victims of the PTA. So they should have more context on how this law can be misused. So it's not what crime did they commit, and it's against people that we think are idiots, like because some SLP guy he deserved it, we put a good laugh. No, we are fighting for a principle, and the principle here is that it's a bad law. Bad law shouldn't be in our books, because when people of bad faith with bad intentions come into power, these can be misused, right? We are not questioning whether the NPP will use it in the correct manner or the wrong manner. It's just that it shouldn't be used full stop at all. So, okay, early days, maybe there's entrenched policy that caused the arrest of these 7 people under the PTA, but now they need to act, right? They have all the power. Now they need to act. Now we have the ministers in place and all of that. They have a manifesto. That means they would have been building these policies. It's not like they have to come into power and then start writing policy. These policies should have been in the works,
2019 onwards they were doing it.
Exactly. I mean, so I think we need to now start seeing action on some of these things.
So it means when we were told that PTA is unnecessary, I mean, these people were in opposition, PTA is unnecessary because the existing laws are sufficient. Either they were lying, because apparently these laws are not sufficient. That's why they're using the PTA now after becoming into power. So which is it? Were they ignorant? Were they not aware?
So I've been watching the speeches in Parliament. Fantastic. It's good to hear the new members speak. And also the usual stirrers are there. You heard Namal's speech, and then Rattaran's speech. I mean,
Rattaran spoke the first day,
He spoke the first day.
He thanked everybody, all the board. I mean,
how lovely, no? How sweet.
We had a speech. There are so many people.
And I saw today.
I saw that.
SB Disanayake was shopping in PETA, and people are saying, "Oh, me hari sarala mini." I'm like,
No. I was watching this Rattaran speaking, and he was praising. This was the situation. So many people lost. I was selected. So it's a great achievement.
Great achievement for him. So actually, he represents the only. No, he's like the last of the gas cylinder.
What about other Chamara
He's the gas. So gas cylinders
how many
left
people came
to
from
these
gas
guys.
cylinder? 2, no? Two came and 2
So there is also, I think you made a point.
National
list.
What's happening?
You want to, why don't you?
No, you talk.
No. I mean, in the sense, I think the SJB needs to get the act together and make those appointments.
Yes.
Right? I think even the UNP hasn't appointed their national list.
Because they must be thinking,
Ravi stole a seat. Right? I mean, Ravi stealing anything shouldn't be a surprise to anyone, right? So I think it's the most Ravi thing that we have seen. He stole something. I think that is absolutely on brand for the man. But yeah, I think we need a credible opposition. And yesterday, the evening session in Parliament, when a certain topic was brought up, I can't remember what the topic was. The opposition benches were empty, and that is disappointing.
With the opposition
benches were empty.
Yeah.
Only the government benches were sitting there, and somebody had videoed it. Only the MPs from the north and east were there. Nobody else was there. So I mean
that whole day they were not there?
No, whole day in the morning they would have been there, but evening certain topics were being taken up, right? I mean, you might be in opposition, but you're still elected to serve.
Exactly, this is something that I feel. Why is that some of these MPs they don't go? They don't go for the parliament.
Well,
I mean, no. What I mean is, it's their job to do that. No, you can't just say I could do better things at home. I know of a person, your great friend, never went to parliament for a couple of years. Somewhere in 2000, he was in parliament.
He's my great friend.
Yes.
He's my great friend.
And he said, there's no point going to the parliament.
Who are we talking about?
I don't know. I'm at a loss. Oh, you tell me. You tell me quietly.
No, so just to get clarity, SJB, have they appointed any nationalist MP? None?
They have, no?
One
Ranjit Madhuma Bandar.
Secretary.
Yeah,
he appointed himself. He's a secretary.
I personally think, I know defeated people were not, the nationalist is not there to bring in defeated people, but people like Iran and all deserve a shot.
No, but I spoke to Iran. Iran said, no, I'm not coming.
So he doesn't want to go.
Really?
He said,
I think Hirunika definitely wants to see.
Hirunika wants to come. Iran said there is a petition that was going around. I met him at the parliament. I spoke to him. He said some people are asking whether he started that petition.
Right,
You also signed that petition.
But I
he said,
must
no,
say,
I won't
yeah,
come.
I
that's
think
a very disappointing.
we should actually have a round table to talk about the opposition. Yeah, because I don't think the opposition, they're the opposition now, are doing themselves any favors with some of the things that are going on. Including their own legal secretariat tweeting very sort of misogyny. What's the word? Words are slipping out of my head. I need to.
Distorted information.
And Sanjay has been a victim of that.
Charming, so SJB has only appointed one nationalist. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Gasoline has appointed any nationalist
Nobody,
MPs?
they didn't appoint.
Ravi stole one.
Okay, so
got two. Ravi stole one.
And UNP, have they appointed any?
UNP has one.
No, have they appointed?
No, more the UNP.
UNP didn't get one. No?
There is no UNP. There's only
there's
gas
UNP
cylinder.
UNP contested in the hill country and they got one, I think.
Jivan won.
So he didn't have enough to get a nationalist employee.
Okay.
Nationalist membership.
Seat. Okay.
So
didn't they get one? They got one, no? Tournament came.
That's the thing. I told you.
Yeah, they have one. They have one.
They contested under the Aliyah because they said those women there, men and women, won't understand that's a symbol, but the area they lost. So two to be appointed from gas cylinder. Ravi took one, the other is vacant. They're not even appointed.
So that's exactly.
Because last time when there was UNP, I think Ranil came after about 11 months.
That's right.
So there must
you think they'll do the same thing this time, auntie?
I think there must be a rule that actually there's a rule that within 30 days you have to appoint the nationalist person.
So all of that needs to happen. I think the opposition needs to get the act together and send some good, credible people into those places. I don't expect anything credible to come from the gas cylinder or the UNP, but at least the SJB should think about who they're sending in and send some people who can contribute.
Parliament is already set and they still can't find...
Also don't forget, opposition leaders already elected, Sajid, but the committee appointments, committee chairmanships all go to the opposition. That's the check and balance on the government, right? So people like Harsha, Public Finance Committee, I think...
So if they have good people appointed, they will go to the...
They will go to the committees, right? That's why they can do some good, right?
People, committee that selects so many MP for the president appoints, it goes to the particular committee, where this fellow was seated
our former speaker.
Yeah.
They had 9. I think they're supposed to have 10 or 12 in that.
Constitutional Council.
Constitution.
No, so there are various things. I mean, there are so many committees and
No, the fact that they
various
have not been, the opposition has not been able to fill up these seats.
Well,
that's worrying.
somebody needs to grow a spine and make a decision.
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
somebody
right.
needs to grow a spine and make a decision. So the final point I want to make is that I heard all those lovely speeches. They were all very good. And one thing about the NPP is that they have message discipline, right? I mean, speaker after speaker talked about the NPP government, right? Jatika Jana Balavege Anduwa, every single one, right? My only message would be, you are the government, not the Jati. You are the government, not the Jatika Jana Balavege. You are now the government of Sri Lanka, right? You represent everybody. People that voted for you didn't vote for you.
Yes.
You represent everyone. So I think, act in the public good, right? Act in good faith. Remember your promises, and I think our job will be a lot easier, right? But we are here. I mean, if necessary, to keep reminding the new administration also that their word is their bond with the voters, and that not to lose voter trust by going against. I mean, we highlighted some of the things that have happened so far, and I don't think it's. I think it'll show maturity if you can own up to things that were either mistaken or ill-conceived or whatever, and then just move on. Because for the next 5 years, you don't need to obfuscate a lie. You don't need to do what the Ranilis did or what previous governments did. Show by example that you can be different. You can be the change that this country needs. And that would be my final message. Anything you want to add to that?
No, that's it, yes.
Yeah.
As I told you, I mean, I would personally follow everything that they are doing.
Yeah.
To make sure, hold them accountable and take action,
Yeah.
But somebody gave me, I think, some wrong information also on one thing. It was before the presidential, I feel bad about it also. I straight away wrote to Harini and I said, you're planning to do this. I was asking you also, and I said, we have been standing on the road for 2.5 years, we're not willing to stand.
Yeah.
Give us an answer, take a stand on it. I don't know whether she looks at personal ones.
Well,
whatever, but I'm telling you,
I mean, she's the Prime Minister of the country. she has a lot to do.
No, when she was before the elections, I wrote to her because what I'm trying to say is that we
they
should
need
be
to be
following.
a responsive government, right? Priya, anything you want to add? Anything you want to say?
I think
Finally,
everything is being put out there on the table and in agreement with accountability and all the promises, and then we have to keep this going, to keep them in check. And
Right.
definitely an opposition also.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to the opposition, don't let the people be the opposition again, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be the opposition.
Be the opposition.
and make it meaningful. I mean, the other day I heard somebody from the SJB talking about Harini shopping, and I mean, at a press conference, right? You don't need about the ABBA concert, such cheap, sort of, absolutely inconsequential things that they're focusing on.
Yeah.
When there's so much on policy that they can focus on and hold people responsible, right?
I'm sure the government is aware and they should be aware of it.
Yeah.
In England, in UK, there's already a petition sent to the government, new government, to have another election. Asking for an election because not happy.
Well,
then I'm telling you, because they're rights of the people, because they're not happy with what's happening. They wanted such a majority also there, no?
Well, people can turn, right?
Yeah.
People turn on Gota in less than 2 years.
Yeah. So okay, so I think less than 4 months
because
in England.
Because auntie, when a government takes action, you can see whether it's in good faith or not.
Yes.
Whether it's in the interest of the people and the public or not, right? And then they will react. I mean, I don't think we should. I sincerely hope we won't need another Aragale, but we want this government to do well.
Yeah.
And actually, if they stick to their basic promises, especially on the accountability and the justice front, people will be happy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they need to grow into running an economy. I think they need to mature into running an economy, and I think that's what you're seeing with the IMF now. That that they came to that position where they had to admit, look, this is complex, right? But you don't need to lie about it. I mean, I think that was my message. Shall we end it on that? We wanted to have a short session, but now we've gone to, oh my God, 6:42. We've done an hour. Done an hour. Right? So that's it from us. So that's a wrap from day 319, our first roundtable after an election. We'll probably do this maybe once a month. What do you think?
We should do.
Yeah, at least let's keep an eye on things and let's do this. And thank you, Anu CK, for putting this together as usual. We are not on the street yet. We said we're going to take a 3-month break. Right now we're about a month into that. Look, I mean, I don't see the need to go onto the street if there is no need to go to the street. But if the PTA continues to be used, or if the executive presidency, the abolition of the presidency is not part of the conversation, at least now there's nothing mentioned from anybody in the NPP. I mean, these need. Then we'll think about stepping out and making our voices heard. Yeah. Right. That's it then. Thank you guys. Thanks so much. Thank you. When are we having a party? Are we having a party?
Don't forget, you have to come and really party. I was checking the music also yesterday.
There you go. Right,
Yeah.
so that's it from us on day 319.
Yes.
We'll pay Abba. We'll pay Abba. Okay? And I think we'll get the Vijay the Spotify account. Well, he said he has ABBA CDs in his car. Cassettes. He said he has ABBA cassettes in his car.
I can't afford it.
Right, thank you guys, and that's a wrap from us. Good night. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I was